Yes, so for us, it's not about accidents, it's for the frequency and how you manage it, and so on and so forth. Issues of religious bodies, yes. Directly with MPG, we haven't directly engaged, religious body groups as per se. However, when we go to the communities and we engage with the communities, we have, churches and other religious bodies, the traditional and the other religious bodies. All of them are part of the people we engage. But as direct engagement with religious bodies, we haven't done that. But they are part of stakeholders that, moving along, will be engaging along the line of the project. Thank you.
I said I wasn't going to answer any questions, but I'll just add a few things to what Dr. Yamo just said. The spin-off industries that come with nuclear is enormous. Can I ask you, when you hear of companies like Samsung and Toshiba, what comes to mind? No. He asked the question. Yeah. Exactly. That forms just 6% of their business. Well, Dr. Yamo was saying we were in Japan just last weekend. We had an opportunity to visit Toshiba. Toshiba's main business in the building of turbines, generators for energy sector. The electronics that we see that we think is the main, it forms just 6%. And that comes about as a result of deliberate government policies that Japan, South Korea, put in place to develop those industries. At independence, Ghana and South Korea had similar GDP, but we can't say same today. And you can track the progress or the increase in their GDP to certain activities. And I'll urge you to just go and track and see when they started adding on nuclear power plants as they did, how their GDPs grew. Secondly, on the stakeholder engagement, Dr. Mpuma's presentation, he highlighted a perception survey that was conducted by ISE. When you are doing stakeholder engagement, you have stakeholder mapping and you target certain groups at various stages. That perception survey highlighted a lot of gaps that we need to fill as a country. So at the program level, we are coming up with what we call Nuclear Information, Communication and Education Campaign that will seek to address some of the gaps that have been identified from the perception survey. And that will include touching base with the faith-based organizations and other institutions, including Academy of Ghana Arts and Sciences and other institutions which will be needed to be educated. And that includes even adding some amount of nuclear education to basic education curriculum so that you can catch them from when they are young, introduce them, and let them know the effect, the potential that this sector has for us as a country. Thank you.
Hi, my colleagues. Oh, I thought you are the MC, you are supposed to introduce me. Okay, so my name is Augustine Fano. I work with the Nuclear Regulatory Authority. Yes, so the nuclear industry, for that matter, radiation and nuclear industry is highly regulated, just like the aviation industry. And accidents will always occur. Now, if you are the owner of a facility, from the regulatory point of view, there are certain requirements you must meet. And that includes you having in place what we call your emergency preparedness and response plan. Therefore, this plan has to be presented to the regulator for review to make sure that all the potential accidents that are likely to occur in the facility, when anything happens, you have a response to address those accidents. So in that regard, within the Nuclear Regulatory Authority, there's a whole department dedicated to that, known as the Emergency Preparedness and Response Department, who have come out with detailed requirements addressing all the facilities that are operating in the country, that you should identify all the potential accidents that can occur and come out with an appropriate response plan that anytime any of that happens, you should have a way to address it. So there's no cause for alarm so far the regulatory point of view is concerned. Yes, so I was coming to that. So as part of our authorization process, to get an authorization used to operate a facility, you go through a process. And embedded in that process is known as regulatory inspections. Therefore, we have different types of inspection. We have what we call pre-authorization inspection. That is the inception of your activity or operation of the facility. When you apply, we'll have to verify what is on the ground based on what you put in the application before you are authorized. Then, depending on the risk category, let's say after 1 year, we'll come back and re-inspect, just like EPA does, like rightly mentioned, to make sure that the conditions as they were there before you were authorized are still the same, to make sure that humans and environment are not overexposed to harmful effects of radiation. So that is there. And when you come to NRA, almost every day a team is out in the field doing different things, one thing or the other. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Fanu. All right. You want to say something? Yeah.
Some questions came directly at me, and let me receive them nicely. We had, sorry, on the prevention of accidents. In the nuclear industry, we have what we call defense in depth. So it all starts from the source of radiation, that is the fuel. So the fuel is kept within a certain material called a clad. That material is able to restrain the radiation from moving out of the container. When that is set up, these fuel pins are put together, or fuel assemblies are put there. And there is also a vessel which also captures whatever will leak from any fuel into the vessel. Then there is also the containment. So you have such that in case of any challenge within the facility, Dr. Moore was saying that we learn from our challenges. The Convention on Nuclear Safety was instituted because of the Chernobyl accident. Because now the world saw that a problem in a certain country called the Soviet Union is a problem everywhere. So everybody has to prepare for it. And that's why peer reviews are tied into this thing. Now, when we talk about defense in depth, we also go into the human factors. How do people deteriorate to the point that there will be an accident? We as regulators set requirements, and so we have the integrated management system. How you set your organization up to perform the nuclear business is regulated. How you put yourself together, you train your staff is regulated. We want to be sure that the people in there have the requisite skills and knowledge and attitudes to perform their roles effectively. So these are the things we do to avoid accidents. And if they do okay, like Prof. Fanu said, we have the emergency preparedness and response, which also takes care of the response to the challenges. We don't do it alone. In Ghana, the National Disaster Management Organization is the competent authority for emergencies. But we as NRA provide the technical support to NADMO so that in case of any nuclear accident, we will be able to respond effectively. We have been operating a research reactor in Ghana since 1994. It is at the Ghana Atomic Energy site, and there has been regulatory oversight of that reactor since 1994, when the Radiation Protection Institute, the Radiation Protection Board, was formed. The Radiation Protection Board was translated into the NRA to allow for independence of the regulator. So now as NRA, our responsibility is to make sure that your interest is at heart, that we ensure that whoever is going into a nuclear business has the requisite knowledge and skills and resources to ensure that he does things safely. And that is our core business that we do. We also secure it in security, and we also safeguard it so that we don't have Ghana on a wrong list of countries that are not using nuclear materials for peaceful purposes. So that is the role of the NRA, and we are glad you are here to share in that with us. There was a question on the regular monitoring. Yes, we go for inspections, Prof. Anu has mentioned it, and we also verify from the documentation that is submitted by the licensee to us. There was a question on our decommissioning fund, the challenges that were identified for us during the Joint Convention Review meeting. As the NRA, we had set out, our act gives us a requirement to come up with a mechanism to ensure that the end products of the business that are performed under our oversight are also properly safeguarded. So we are required to work with the Bank of Ghana, with the various other agencies that have the skills in this area. We are not financial experts, so we are not going to put that responsibility on ourselves. We are going to put the technical know-how at the disposal of the competent organizations and do that. Currently, we have received support from the United States Nuclear Regulatory Commission to support us in telling us how they do their fund for this radioactive waste, as well as the spent fuel. And we are going to learn from them as well as from the European Commission. So our partners are willing to help us in this area to be able to address the challenge. But we will still come up to you when we have any information on our fund. And the purpose of the fund is to ensure that if I come to apply for a license to operate, and per any chance I'm unable to finish my business and maybe I go bankrupt, there should be some funds available to take care of the waste or the business I will leave behind. This is one of the responsibilities of this fund. And it is also to ensure that if a company decides to even go out of business, there will still be funds available to take care of the waste that will be there in the government coffers. So the government is going to be responsible for this fund, and it's going to be kept to ensure we go to the back end of our business effectively. So thank you very much. We are working on implementing it, and we'll report on it in our next gathering with you. Thank you.
Okay, so my eye is on the clock, and I'm going to take our last round of questions. Microphone. As I promised to start with the students, I'm going to start with them. Yes, go ahead.
Good morning.
Morning.
My name is Ruth. I'm from Kwabena Community Senior High.
Hello, Ruth.
I'd like to ask if there is any available humanitarian aid in case of any nuclear power explosion.
Okay.
And moreover, the uranium used to power the nuclear power plants can also be weaponized. Is there any security agency set in place for that?
Okay, all right. So what happens in the event of an explosion? Is there any help? And how do we prevent the weaponizing of uranium? Kwabena came prepared, man. Wow.
I have a question for Dr. Yamwa. We are preparing towards 2030, as you said. But there is a paper I read 2 weeks ago that suggested that the current technology for reactors existed between the 1960s and 70s, that the new ones that are coming up will be ready by 2030. Are we not going to be caught in between these things?
So the question again?
We are preparing to go nuclear by 2030.
By 2030, yes.
By existing now, were developed between the 60s and the 70s. The new ones that are coming on stream will be ready by 2030. If we go now to buy the technology, are we not going to be caught up?
Okay, so our technology may be old by the time we are fresh. So technology issues there. Okay, that's a good question. Thank you. There was a question again from the school. Yes, go ahead. And then I'll come to the back.
My name is Mam Nyama, and I'm from Kwabena Senior High School. So, if there is an increase in electricity, there is definitely going to be an increase in demands of individuals. So when there's an increase in the demands, what are we going to do about that when it comes to nuclear power? And also, the site you have mentioned that you have found, obviously there's no humans, they are not supposed to be humans. And if humans are there, do they understand the disadvantages and the advantages of what is closer to them.
Thank you very much. All right. Gentleman at the back, and then lady here first. Lady first, and I'll go to the gentleman. May, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Mabel, and I'm from GBC. I have two questions. Now that Ghana is engaging vendor countries, Russia has come very strong, and they are even introducing a floating nuclear power plant. Are we considering that? And then by 2030, if we are able to have a nuclear power plant, in terms of tariffs, is it the mandate of the Nuclear Regulatory Authority or PURC? Thank you.
Okay, and then just Business 24, yes? Last question.
Thank you very much. Some of our speakers have a very mouth-watering opportunity job creation, etc. But one of the lessons we learned from the oil and gas industry is that although some of these opportunities came, we did not have the capacity when it comes to human resources to be able to take advantage of, the jobs present and also the technology that it could help us develop. What is the situation when it comes to nuclear? Okay. Have we started preparing the human resource base of the country to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that will be coming with the industry? Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And yeah, this is extra time. So quickly, brief. The microphone should go to the gentleman at the tie, and there's a one behind the pillar, and then I'll get all the questions over. We're going to do that.
All right. We know that currently, when the IPPs, the independent power producers, produce power, it becomes a tussle for the ECG or say VRA to pay them back. Now the monies needed to operate the nuclear reactors are huge. What is the arrangement being put in place to ensure that when the power is produced by these reactors, the monies will be paid promptly to keep the plant running?
Okay, thank you. And there's the last one in the corner.
My question is largely on how communities or people where these reactors will be sited post whatever is done. How would the communities be sustainably preserved and conserved?
Okay, communities. Okay. We're out of time. Okay, but you ask the question.
Yeah, Bernard Atwata, United Television. You know that we are doing, I'm just looking at sustainability. How are we going to have it sustained?
Okay.
Thank you.
Simple question. The last one goes to the students. Yes.
I'm Stanley Asempa from Kwabena Senior High School. And I want to ask a couple of questions.
We don't have time. Pick your best one.
The best one?
Yes.
Okay. So, the nuclear energy creates risks and costs associated with the weapon proliferation, meltdown, the minor lung cancer, among others. So I want to ask, what are some of the measures placed in order to prevent this from happening? And also, looking at the Ghana going nuclear, that's going to take a long time. So probably there's going to be more phases than phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, before we realize there are about 30 phases. We've still not covered everything. So, looking at our economy right now, we are not that financially stable. So why don't we develop what we have, then when we become financially stable, then we concentrate on the nuclear?
All right. Okay, well, thank you very much. Have a seat. And before I hand over, our guys online, our people online have asked just two questions. I think one of them is related to my gentleman from Business 24. Are there facilities set up across the universities in Ghana, maybe KNUST, elsewhere, to build interest in students as well as help in the research side of things? And then Adonis is also asking, are there plans for research into nuclear fusion as well? As we see that those using nuclear fission, researching into nuclear fusion, as this is seen as the future of nuclear energy. So fission, fusion, research plans into that, and then how are we changing the interests of students in nuclear energy, like our Kwabena people. So go ahead. Lots of questions, but I know we can do justice to them. And we have our evaluation forms going around, so please, while you are listening to the responses, kindly just take a moment to fill out those forms for us. Dr. Alate.
Okay, so I would actually handle two of them. First, about the weaponization. Actually, like we said, Ghana is actually embarking on a civilian use of nuclear power, all right? So weaponization is not part of it. And we've actually got what is called the IEA, Comprehensive Safeguards Agreement. So whatever we do here, we are checking to make sure that there is no proliferation of nuclear materials to be used for weapons. And actually, Ghana has an agreement with the IEA, and they monitor us all the time to actually ensure that that does not happen. And what do you call it? Like Dr. Mpama's presentation said, we are actually also part of the Pelindaba Treaty, and actually that actually sets Africa as a weapons-free zone. So actually, all the work is done to make sure that there is no sense of weaponization happening in our program in any way. So actually, you must be rest assured that actually weaponization is a no-go area. And what do you call it? We're actually not working in that area. The next one I want to talk about is about the humanitarian assistance in terms of an explosion. Okay, so what do you call it? Like we said, we have a defense in depth, all right? So at the tail end of it is actually emergency response and preparedness. Now, what do you call it? Ghana is also part of the IEA convention, which is actually the Convention on Early Notification and Assistance. So once there is anything happening anywhere in the world, okay, you actually got the IEA, which actually collaborates with all countries around, all right, to actually inform. So it may be something happens here, we immediately inform the IEA, and they give any support that we need to actually take care of what must be done. So you'll not tell him it's humanitarian, but actually it's actually assistance, okay, to actually fulfill all those issues. Okay, so I think I'll hand over to the next group.
All right, on the humanitarian aid, I think I mentioned that we are parties to the civil liability. In civil liability, we are saying that if you want to enter the business, you should have some funds available for insurance, so that in case of any challenge, we will be able to utilize that resources to resolve the challenges that comes along with it. So this is an area we are currently developing a regulation for, to be able to ensure the ceiling amount of money that can be put aside for anyone entering the business, so that in case of any challenge, we'll be able to draw from your own resources as well as that of the state. So the state is not absorbing himself from responsibilities, but there is a responsibility that is put on the licensee as well, to ensure that they also meet a certain requirement in terms of supporting the challenges that comes with the industry. On the weaponization, like my DG said, we have the safeguards agreement, and we also have the dual use items, which are also under regulation. So there are several materials which are not used, which are not really nuclear materials, but they can be used in the weapons program. So as our work with the customs, we track the items that enter the country as well as those that leave. If there is any notion of any material that has the capability to be used in the nuclear weapons field, we track it up and make sure that it is only used for the purpose for which it was brought into the country. So these are all areas we are looking to ensure that we safeguard our people. On the technology, there are several technologies that exist in the industry. We have Generation 3 Plus, we have Generation 3. They are all on the market, and they are all useful. So I think the operators will delve more deeper into these ones. On the floating MPP, I think that is for the operators. And then on the opportunities, there is a School of Nuclear and Allied Sciences, which was set up by the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission. That was where I was trained. There are a couple of people here who have been trained in that school, and it is because Ghana saw further on in the business that in 2006, we started training human resource, and that's where I was trained. So we have the capacity to develop the human resource that are needed for the nuclear power business. But there is also a lot more that is still needed, and I think that was what Dr. Bwakofi mentioned, that they are looking to building the capacity in welding and all other areas, which are also relevant for the nuclear power activity. On the preservation, on sustainability, and the measures to prevent, I think, on nuclear facilities to build interest in students, there is a Ghana Nuclear Society which is making efforts to reach out to the various institutions, and I'm sure they can do much more, as well as this press conference is also a way of telling others about what are the prospects in the nuclear industry. If anyone wants to join the NRA, once we are able to get clearance to do so, we'll definitely absorb them and get them to be educated. But as NRA, on sustainability of our work, we have an internal training program which has 4 levels. When you enter the NRA, you are given a basic training, then you are given a specialized training, and then you are trained on our core activities of review and assessment, enforcement, regulations development, as well as inspections. And then we have leadership training. And last week we had one session of our leadership training course, and it was a very fruitful one. So we look forward to working together with you all as we go along in this journey. So I'll hand over to the operators.
Thank you very much. I think a lot of questions directed to me. So I'll try and respond as much as I could based on what I was able to capture. But then after the session, you can corner me somewhere if I'm unable to address your question. I'm always available. Yes, so the technology issues, I think you're talking about technology readiness. So currently, we have majority of Generation 2 nuclear power plants that are in operation. Okay, those were constructed in the 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, and thereabout. So those are the majority of power plants that are in operation. In recent years, there are Generation 3 and Generation 3 plus reactors that have been constructed and operational. Now, the issues of the Generation 1 up to Generation 3 plus reactors is to improve more of the safety features to make sure the power plants are more safer. So, for example, we're moving gradually away from what we call, active safety systems where you need, for example, pumps and other things to circulate water through the reactor to absorb the heat, to a passive safety system where by physics and gravity density differences, the flow of coolant is able to flow without the reliance on active systems. So the generation of reactors, new generations come up with improved features to make sure the power plants are safer. So as we speak now, Generation 3 and 3 plus reactors are the current reactors that are being constructed. Now, what you were referring to as probably in the 2030s were the SMR, small modular reactor technologies. There's a host of them. I think from the IEA records, about 180 different designs and technologies. So they are at various levels of readiness. But as we speak now, some are, have advanced. One of the questions which I will address referred to the floating reactor that the Russian Federation, which is currently in operation. China is currently constructing an SMR technology. I know some vendors from US are also in the process of manufacturing components and all of that. So there are a lot of the SMR technologies, and some are still even in the conceptual stage. So when you put all of that together, then the projection is that it's going to be more on the table within the 2030s. So, but there are others that have advanced that are, scheduled to come online early 2030 thereabout. So that is the issue with the technology. So Ghana actually is going for Generation 3 or Generation 3 plus reactors, not the Generation 2 and Generation 1 reactors. Yeah. The issue of sites, the population or the people around the community, whether they understand the nuclear issues and their safety. Of course, it's not going to take, few engagements to get everybody to understand, the concept. Probably the word is not even understanding, but appreciating, what the nuclear is about, the do's and don'ts, the possible effects and all of that, so that when people are knowledgeable, they are able to, react and address issues when they happen. But when, people have no knowledge of, anything, then it becomes a big challenge. So as I said, the community engagement is a continuous process. It will not end after we are done with the site. It will not end when we are done with the construction of the facility. It will not end when we are in the operation phase. It will not end even in it will go through the whole life cycle of the power plant. At every stage of the process, the focus and the objective will differ, but in all is to ensure that people are knowledgeable and appreciative of what is in their environment so that they know how to relate to the facility. But then also, mind you, we're not going to put the facility in a densely populated area. So that is one of the criteria that we use in analyzing the potential sites. We needed a place where there's sparsely populated and all of that. And, unfortunately, people have encroached at, the GAEC lands, and, residential facilities are just close nearby. In the end, the nuclear plant is not going to be in Accra. So that is an information for you. What we are going to acquire a land size that will be able to accommodate what we call the footprint of the power plant, plus a buffer zone or area where we call the exclusion zone. And this exclusion zone will be owned and managed by the plant owners to make sure that no developments takes place within those exclusions. So it's, all over power plants, the regulator will eventually come out with some of these requirements as to the distance away from which, residential or communities can be close to the power plant. So all these are all part of the measures to ensure that the community is safe and, of course, for the whole country. The issue of the oil and gas industry, you are very right. I think Ghana made a good case for what you call the local content. However, we got it, but the skill, the technology, the personnel were not readily available to take advantage of it. And in all our engagement with the vendors, we are also making a case for local content, because we think that there's a role for our local industry and people to play in. However, if we get it and we are not ready for it, it is a risk, and that risk is also a cost to us. So to ensure that we iron out some of these things, we've been engaging a host of industry players, especially with Association of Ghana Industries. They've been part of this nuclear program since the inception. So we have constant engagement with them to let them know that there is a potential market that is coming. However, the market demands certain standards and requirements that we must meet. The fact that the opportunity is there, if we don't meet those requirements, we can't take it. So I mean, if you have seen the nuclear power plant, that's we call the dome-shaped structure, which is the containment designed to withstand aircraft impact, for example. The iron rods, bigger than, my wrist here. So, for example, if we make a case that we have industries to produce such rods, we need to make sure that they can do it. And they will not produce such iron rods using scrap metals. So there are real issues that we are engaging industries to make sure that the opportunities are there. However, we have to prepare ourselves. There are challenges sometimes when we engage them, and we need certain information from them to be able to do assessment and have a direction going forward. The information are not forthcoming, but we're still engaging, and we believe that we will make a progress in that regard. Issues of vendor, yes, we engage in the vendors. Russia Federation is part of the vendors that we are engaging, not only them, also with France, US, China, and South Korea. And this is all that I want to say on the vendors. As I said, we are putting our reports together, so just give me some space. It will not be nice to start spilling the beans when we are not done with what we are supposed to do. So that is that. Student engagement, yes, it's also very important. And as NPJ, we've started engagement with some technical universities, which will also be expanding to other universities. It's a gradual process that we are embarking. Even yesterday, for example, we were with, is it what? Unimark, right? Unimark. University of what? Something. Yes. Yes. So yesterday we were with them. We collaborating to ensure that, the new journalists that are going to come out have some basic knowledge and appreciation of nuclear. Not only nuclear also, but also the energy space as a whole. So that, when you guys are talking, or when I'm talking, you'll be able to, put the questions to me in the right perspective and all of that. So we're doing all this kind of engagement to ensure that we have the basis for the nuclear, which is part of the sustainability issues. There are countries that embarked on a nuclear project. I think Austria, for example, completed their power plant, but then the people in the end said no. And that has become a training facility and more or less a tourist area. So this is all part of the sustainability issues. And our colleague from ENCO, when giving the Germany example, our community is not ready to accept nuclear in their backyard. It's all about engagement, education, constant interaction to make sure that people are comfortable based on their knowledge and understanding of what is coming to their vicinity. Issues of tariff, the question is whether it's going to be PURC or NRA, and I don't speak for NRA, but I don't think it's going to be NRA to set the tariff. So it will still be PURC based on the interaction between PURC and the operating organization. Yes, revenue mobilization. I don't know whether you mentioned an organization, but of course, it's a challenge in the energy sector now. And again, it is also one of the issues that we have to deal with, because it's a huge investment. And if the organization that is to collect, revenue from the sale of electricity is unable to do that, then it's going to be a lot of burden on all of us. So there are various models that we are looking at. For example, whether there could be industry players where new industry that, the power can be feed directly to them, like off-taker kind of arrangement, so that there is also direct inflow of revenue, not having to pass through or go through ECG system. So all these models, they are all part of the analysis that we're doing based on the vendor engagement to ensure that we have a clearer way of moving forward with the nuclear technology. Probably the last one I will talk about, and as I said, if I have not touched on your question, economy after this, the issue of fusion and fission. So the current nuclear power plants operates based on fission technology. That is splitting of a heavy atom into smaller units. Fusion is still, research is still ongoing. There are prospects, but of course it will take some time to get to a more defined stage. So currently it's more of fission technology for nuclear power plants that are in operation. Thank you. Economy, if I have not been able to touch on your question. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much. That was quite comprehensive. And thank you, all of you, for responding to the questions. There will be more time later when we are just done with the last segment of today's event, where we will have the media, exclusive media interviews. Quick announcements here. Please fill those evaluation forms and then hand them over to the people who gave them to you. Quick acknowledgement. Mr. Akil Akpasoya is with the Council for Scientific and Industrial Research, CSIR. Alan Seth Anku is with Ghana Health Service. Joanna Tete is with Gridco, Ghana Grid Company. Agbenyo Vincent is also with Gridco. Chita Mingle is with the Center for Democratic Development, and Professor H.N.A. Wellington is with the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences. We're all happy to have all of you here. We are going to take a quick, 5-minute turnaround, and then we'll come back for the awards that are happening right after that little break. I know some of you have sat here without stretching your legs, so if you want to stretch, this is the time. And in 5 minutes, we'll come back for the awards, and then we'll have closing remarks, interviews, and we are done. All right? So just a 5-minute turnaround, and then we are back for the awards. While they get all the awards sorted and everything, take a pee break. The bathrooms are to the left for the men when you go outside, to the right for the side. And in 5 minutes, we return here to do the awards and end the event. Thank you so much. Stretch around, and we're back in 5 minutes. Yes, we are coming back in, so please let them know that part 2 is happening. We are coming right back in. All right, thank you. Welcome back. We are almost done. Thank you very much for your patience. You've been wonderful. Let's continue with the program. I hope you've sent all your evaluation forms back to those who sent them to you. This will take maybe 20 minutes. Now time for the awards. We're done with all the presentations, the Q&A. It's now time for the awards. And to give you some information about what these awards are all about, I want to bring onto the lectern Professor Augustine Fanu of the Nuclear Regulatory Authority. He's going to give you a few words and then we'll announce the winners. Let's welcome him onto the stage. Yes, he's a chief examiner and you are all BEC candidates.
Don't mind him, all right? So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. And I will still stand on the existing protocol to proceed. Yes, so I have a very simple task to perform. As part of our engagement with our friends from the media, so this is about the media. In order for us to make sure that the public, our clients, understand exactly what the Nuclear Regulatory Authority stands for, we had a kind of one-day media engagement by way of workshop with some of our friends from the media, which was well attended. Now, following that, we decided that, well, in order for it to be sure that our friends from the media are able to, or they were able to understand what we took them through, so that they can report accurately about our activities to the public, we decided that let them come into some kind of bring up some write-up about the authority, so that this will be assessed based on a criteria. So we had about 11 entries from different media stations. We have Business 24, Joy News, Ghanaian Times, GBC Radio, Ghana News Agency, Peace FM, TV3, Daily Graphic, Bloomberg, City FM, Information Services Department of the Ministry of Information. So, after receiving these write-ups, we constituted a team of experts, and their duty was simply to review what has been presented, based on the criteria. What were we looking for? The criteria was that whatever you have presented to us or what you have written should be the factual content about what NRA stands for. And further to that, we needed to check your communication or written skills. So there's a course in University of Cape Coast called communication skills. So we're checking that. They're checking for what we call the dangling modifiers and all those things. Then also look out for what we call originality. Did you just go to the website and pick some information and use it as, present it as it is, or you try to put it in your own words to bring out a better understanding to the media? And finally, I'm not a journalist. I believe as journalists you were taught some ethics of writing. So we're looking out for your ethics or journalistic skills in your write-up. So these were the 4 areas we're looking at. So the team of experts from the NRA reviewed all the write-ups, and we came out of the results. The pink sheet, but this time it's a green sheet because our colors are green. Now, what were we looking out for in the write-up? First of all, we know what we expect to see what the Nuclear Regulatory Authority stands for. Everything is on the website, and I can see from the banners a lot of write-up there. We stand to ensure that anybody or any organization who's using radiation or nuclear technology, it is used safely, and therefore, the use of whatever you are putting to, whether for medical, industrial, or whatever, or energy, you must make sure that humans here, including the public and the workers, as well as the public, are not overexposed or exposed to any radiation hazard. And to do this, the regulatory body will need to have what we call a regulatory control program. And what goes into that regulatory control program? It means that you need to have a set of requirements or detailed requirements that are provided for in regulations and what we call an authorization process. And following that, once a client or organization or individual certify all the requirements, then you can be granted an authorization to use whatever device or source it is. So, after reviewing all the write-ups in 4 main categories, we had write-ups in radio category, TV category, print category, and last but not the least, online category. And now the results.
Since you are also presenting one of them, would you want me to announce them?
The other one, this one, yes.
Okay. You're presenting the second one.
Okay, yeah.
So I'll have to announce it.
Yes. Okay. Good. So let me do the rest, and you can come, or I should give all to you.
I think so.
Okay. Yes. So, to announce the results, in order for me to not to be doubling other duties, I'll ask our Honorable MC to do that on our behalf. But just so you know, we have 1 winner for each category and 1 overall winner of all the write-ups. In other words, this overall best write-up was like outstanding among the all. He scored almost 99%, which means that the write-up was very factual, original, and the ethics of writing too was top-notch. So, in that regard, where is my friend? Please take over.
Thank you very much. For the radio category, I want to just bring on to to present the award Dr. Tanya Perko of the ENCO from ENCO. She's the expert from ENCO, and she's going to present the radio category. So, Dr. Tanya. Yes. The winner in the radio category, let's make some noise for Joyce Cheche of GBC Radio. Congratulations, Joyce. Yes, they need to face the cameras and make sure they're all smiling. Thank you. Congratulations, Joyce. Thank you, Tanya. To present the TV category, I'd like to bring on Professor Augustine Fanu, who's Director for Radiological and Non-Ionizing Installations Directorate, NRA. So yes, so he's going to step down. For TV category, let's celebrate Samuel Kojo Brace, Joy News. Keep clapping until he takes his plaque. Oh, that's what they like. Yeah. Thank you very much. 2 down, 3 to go. For print category, our award presenter is the Director for Finance and Administration at NRA, Mrs. Efua Kayang. So Mrs. Kayang will help us present. The winner for print, Juliet Safo, Daily Graphic. Awesome. Well done, Juliet. The fourth presenter is Dr. Ni Kwashi Aloche, Director General, Nuclear Regulatory Authority. And this is in the category of online. The winner for the online category of the NRA Media Awards is commercial break. We are back from the commercial break, sponsored by NRA. The winner is Albert Opong Ansa, Ghana News Agency.
So, thank you very much, Mr. Kafui, there for doing this. And now, the clamors. The most important of this all, but just to let you know that for all those who did entries, you all did very well and you're all winners. But as it's a contest, somebody must always come on top. But the grades were all very good. So, the overall winner goes to, can you guess? Please guess. In fact, it's one of the 4. So please, I'll give you one clue. Come on. And it's a lady. Second clue. So between 2 ladies. So you can guess one person guess one, another person guess one. You're all correct. So the winner is, of course, Joyce. And the person to present the award is our one and only Vice President of the Academy, a member of the board, Emeritus Professor Isabella Kwachi. Thank you. Please clap for her. She deserves it. That was very good. Thank you very much, Madam. Thank you, Professor. We appreciate that. We appreciate that. So on this note, I wish to thank each and every one, all those who participated. Like I said earlier, nobody failed, everybody passed. But as it's a contest, somebody must lead. So we are all winners. Thank you very much. On this note, I'll hand over back to the MC. Carry my big size.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
And
my list.
I take your list. This is mine.
There you go. All right. All right. Thank you so much. Congratulations to all our winners. Albert, Juliet, Samuel, and of course, Joyce. They all deserve a big round of applause. And now we can hear our closing remarks from board member of the NRA and Vice President Sciences of the Ghana Academy of Arts and Sciences, Emerita Professor Isabella Kwakye.
This has been just a wonderful, wonderful occasion, and I think we've all learned a lot. And I'm really impressed with my young ladies here. You know, so the future is bright. Thank you. Thank you. So first and foremost, I'd like to express my appreciation, or all our appreciation, to our presenters, Dr. Stephen Yamwa, the Executive Director of Nuclear Power Ghana, to Dr. Archibald Bua Kofi, the Deputy, it's a different way of spelling Kofi, right? It's a special Kofi. The Deputy Director for the Nuclear Power Institute of the Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, and to Dr. Emmanuel Ampuma Amoako, our very own NRA. Yes. He's the director of the Nuclear Installations Directorate at the Nuclear Regulatory Authority, for telling us all about the status of Ghana nuclear power program and what the NRA is doing regarding its regulatory oversight role on the occasion of this press conference. And I think this is very urgent and very much needed, and we've all learned a lot. The NRA has demonstrated that it is working earnestly towards becoming an effective, independent, competent, and transparent nuclear regulator, and we're really impressed with that. Now, our deepest gratitude also goes to all who have attended today's press conference. Very impressive. And you've asked questions, shared your concerns, and helped to make this a very successful event. Congratulations to all the winners and all the reporters. Thank you. Thank you. And to our friends from the media, thank you all for coming. Going forward, may we all appreciate the work of the NRA and help it to do its work efficiently. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prof. Kwakye. We've come to the end of today's event. Successful press conference and awards held by the NRA. Quick announcements. So refreshments, when you step outside, you will see where the refreshments are for all of us here. For fellows and dignitaries, your refreshments will be at the Fellows Lounge. We have media interviews that will take place on this stage for our friends from the media. That's all I really have to say right now. For more information, you want to be getting in touch with the Nuclear Regulatory Authority, Houses 1 and 2, Neutron Avenue in the Kwabenya area, and the website is nra.gov.gh. We were live on Facebook and YouTube, as well as Twitter, and the Zoom. I want to say thanks to our online audience. You've been wonderful. And remember, for ensuring the protection of people and the environment against radiation hazards, there's only 3 letters you need to remember: NRNA. My name is Kafui Day. Have a good afternoon. God bless. And take care of yourselves. Okay. All right. So my brothers and sisters from the media, it's time for your interviews. Yeah. So we'll do that on the stage here. Yeah. Thank you. Microphone. Found 20 CDs, missing owner. If you know you've missed 20 CDs, come and quote the serial number for me. I want to take a picture with Kwabenya. All right? Yes. I'll come and take a photo with you. So, media interviews up on the stage. Thank you. God bless.